Greetings, everyone. Thanks for joining me for another edition of Electric Avenue's YouTube updates, bringing you these every week. So, here are the new releases for what showed up in the store this week. As I'm starting here, we're doing May 3rd? May 3rd, 2024. That's the year. I'm still in like a record store day haze. Can't seem to quite break it. It's one of those things that takes over your life for about 3, 4 weeks leading up to it, and then it continues to take it over for like another 2 weeks after. So it's like a month of just every year is erased from your life. Um, there was, remember the pandemic years where we had like 4 or 5 of those in a row? And I guess I kind of thought that that was a good idea because it kind of spread everything out so people could spend their money a little bit more, a little at a time. I don't know. Maybe there's something to be said about getting it over and done with, but it's a lot. Anyway, the two things that I don't have yet to show, Dua Lipa, that's coming probably later today, and Death Lens is another one. Dua Lipa ran into some problems at the distributor. Somebody got a hold of it early, was selling it, or I don't know if they were selling it, but they posted about it online, and we almost ended up not being able to get Dua Lipa because somebody screwed it up for everybody. So, what can I say except sometimes they're mistakes, sometimes they're not, but I'm glad that that's getting sorted out. It's probably one of the bigger new releases of the week. So there aren't a lot of new releases this week, but I think there's some really good ones. And my first favorite sort of good one that I will recommend to a lot of people too is the new Lemon Twigs album. And this is called A Dream Is All We Know. This is sort of like I hate using the word masterpiece to throw around because it's not quite that. But it does sort of, if you're into like Brian Wilson, the sort of smile era of the Beach Boys, I think this is sort of a great sort of psychedelic pop record or power pop. Um, it's sort of a little bit more kind of edgy, I suppose, than the last record, which was a little more sort of Simon and Garfunkel esque, more sort of the modern chanson kind of singing. This is a little bit more rock, sort of vibey, and I love the cover because it reminds me of a Sparks cover. I love Sparks album covers. Anyway, two brothers, and they pretty much do almost everything on this album. There's like a mini guest appearance from Sean Lennon on production on one track, but yeah, this is recorded, mixed, and mastered entirely from the original analog tapes. Limited edition ice cream vinyl includes the single My Golden Years. The Guardian says, in love with the past but making the present so bright, the Lemon Twigs are in the end timeless. I was really impressed. If you like Todd Rundgren type stuff, or anything, some like the kind of lighter sides of Cheap Trick, and then going back into '60s like psychedelic pop, you really should give this a chance. I know some people who maybe played the last record and were sort of on the fence. This one's a little bit more rock than the last one, so but they do everything. They produce it all and engineer most of it, and they did bring in some other instrumentation on this too, but pretty impressive. Anyway, all right. So check out Lemon Twigs. Another one to check out, I would go ahead and recommend Camera Obscura, and this is their new record, Look to the East, Look to the West. And if you're not really familiar with Camera Obscura, they come from the same sort of tradition and region of like Bell and Sebastian, Scottish, or northern UK, and well, they sort of did that kind of retro pop, The vocals sort of reminiscent of like Tracy Thorn of Everything But the Girl, and but very retro-y kind of sounding music. A lot of it kind of go throwbacks to like the '60s, the Northern Soul kind of, or that sort of laid back kind of vibe from the North, but also a little bit of American country sort of thrown in there at times too. Anyway, this is the limited edition baby blue and white Galaxy vinyl. And there's a black vinyl of this too. It says Camera Obscura returned to Merge Records, reuniting with producer Jan, sorry, I can't say this name, Hapalainen, who did Let's Get Out of This Country, which was probably my favorite album of theirs. For an album of sweeping heartbreakers, for fans who have loved them from the start and those experiencing the band's lush pop for the first time. One of the members had passed away tragically of cancer. She was a keyboard player, I believe, and so they went on hiatus for almost a decade, and it's kind of good to have them back because they were a really good band. Interesting music. All right, another new release, Kamasi Washington. This is available on this color vinyl edition or the black vinyl. Kamasi is super famous. Well, I don't know if he's that famous yet, but he's becoming more famous. Sort of jazz, avant-garde, hip-hop, kind of crossing a lot of genres. I love the album cover. The album's called Fearless Movement. Can't read this morning. Let's see. Features guest appearances by Thundercat, Terrace Martin, George Clinton, and a bunch of people. Oh, Andre 3000. I think he actually does rap or sing on this too, so it's not just sort of a instrumental, vibey sort of ambient album. But I think this is going to do pretty well. So check out Kamasi Washington. He doesn't put out records every day, and he does a lot of guest appearances on other people's records. So it's always good when he gets his own out. Another great sort of artist here from Africa, Mdu Mokhtar, as I believe how you say his name, or Mdu Mokhtar. Funeral for Justice is the name of this record. He's sort of African guitar based, mostly electric guitar. I love the cover of this. I think his album covers are always great. And you get 9 tracks. It's on Matador Records. Most of it is sort of African type words on the back. So anyway, summer's coming, and those kind of albums are great sort of summer listening, I think. Willow Smith, aka Willow Smith, Will's daughter, and Jada's daughter, Empathogen, featuring Run and Symptom of Life. I can't really describe what this album sounds like yet. I don't know. She's nude on the back, sitting sideways. But anyway, Willow keeps making stuff, which at first she kind of seemed like she'd be a novelty with that Whip My Hair Back and Forth song. I think she's turned out to be a little bit more than that. And she's probably in that sort of Miley Cyrus stage of her career where she's still growing and trying to figure out, every album seems different. So what kind of artist is she? Frank Turner, this is his latest, Undefeated. This is the regular version. I think there's an indie version coming of this, as far as like a different color. A vinyl. The song Girl from the Record Store is the first single here. It's his 10th studio album. Frank Turner. It's got his definite core group of followers there, so they're pretty dedicated. Jessica Pratt, it's been a little while since she had a record out, and this is her new one, Here in the Pitch. And it says on her 4th album, this is hard to read, West Coast artist Jessica Pratt expands the scope and artistry, placing her sharpest songs to date within an ever broadening pool of influences, including spectral 60s pop, Hollywood psychedelia, and bossa nova. Whereas her previous 2019 record, Quiet Signs, floated elegantly in the ether, here in the pitch is entrenched in more earthen characteristics, as the title suggests. So, anyway, check out Jessica Pratt. She's got a great sort of retro voice, and I don't know, she's kind of not spooky necessarily, just more kind of like folky retro, intimate sounding. So BBO Sound Machine. I should have put this up next to Madhu Mokhtar. But Pull the Rope is the name of this album, and this is limited edition sky blue, red, black swirl vinyl. I mean, this is, let's throw a million colors in there. I'm sure it looks great with this kind of cover art, though. And this is from Merge Records also. Pull the Rope is hope in darkness, bliss in spite of bleakness. VBO Sound Machine are here to soundtrack the best night of your life and the better world to come. Sounds almost religious, right? Yeah. So sort of African-based rhythms. Interesting stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff coming out. I think we've kind of had so much like kind of big name stuff that's sort of come out recently. So it's nice seeing some of these like artists that are still developing, growing, kind of like trying to get their footing in their career, coming out with records now, because we need more of that, because they are the future. Let's see. A new Exodus record, Persona Non Grata. Speaking of a band that has been around for a long time, this is just their latest record. Clear with golden black and turquoise splatter. It's on Nuclear Blast Records. So I think you kind of know. With that band, you sort of know what you're getting, I think, at this point. Loi Fei and her new one, new reissue, Typical of Me. So last week there was a reissue of her recent album. They did like a deluxe edition of that, and this is a slightly older album, Typical of Me, or it's I guess an extended EP really, because it's 7 tracks. But she was sort of developing artist for a long time, and now she's massive and sells out at least big sort of venues. So this features Street by Street, Magnolia, Like the Movies, I Wish You Love, James, Someone New, and Best Friend. I think there are going to be some people interested in this, possibly. Dave Matthews, Some Devil. This is his solo record, finally out on vinyl. They're kind of limited right now. I'm hoping that we get more. We have a few, but features Gravedigger, So Damn Lucky, and Stay or Leave. Available on vinyl for the first time. So a lot of people don't have this, and they sort of did this last year with Before These Crowded Streets, where that had been out, but it was very hard to find. So anyway, it's a double vinyl. Features Gravedigger Acoustic as the final track. So, all right. Let's see. And this also, I think, is this is a great collection for people who want some Genesis, but don't necessarily want to buy every album in their catalog. So Genesis, Turn It On Again, The Hits. This was released on CD a long, long time ago, but finally getting a vinyl release, 25th anniversary. On vinyl for the first time, double LP. Let's see. So back sort of looks like that. Featuring Turn It On Again, Invisible Touch, Mama, Land of Confusion, I Can't Dance, Follow You, Follow Me, Hold On My Heart, Abacab, I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe, No Son of Mine, Tonight, 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 In Too Deep, Congo, Jesus He Knows Me, That's All, Misunderstanding, Throwing It All Away, and Carpet Crawlers 1999. So a little bit of Peter Gabriel, a lot of Phil Collins, and a lot of hits. So that might be something for you. Green Day, another album that you just haven't seen on vinyl before or in a long time. Warning, this is the limited edition fluorescent green vinyl edition. Again, they were sort of short on these. Hopefully, we get more. We have a few. And this features Minority was a big hit from this. Macy's Day Parade, another hit. They put those at the end. Misery, Warning, obviously, title track. Good Green Day album, a little more experimental than some of their others, but and it sold very well. REO Speedwagon, High End Fidelity. This is certified 10 times platinum, featuring the hits Keep on Loving You, Take It on the Run, Don't Let Him Go, and In Your Letter. This album was pretty much inescapable in 1981 ish. And it is available. You see it in stores a lot, but this is on special sea glass color vinyl, so it's kind of like one for collectors. And it's got to sound pretty good. It doesn't say it's remastered, but I would imagine it probably is at this point, because that album was sort of so hugely successful that I can't imagine they wouldn't do something with the pressing on that. All right, so like there were a lot of sort of new albums I wanted to highlight and kind of big new releases. So I'm just now getting to the couple of the jazz things here. Tone Poets, Bobby Hutcherson, Total Eclipse. Well, this album is a couple weeks late, right? We already had our Total Eclipse. But this features Harold Land, Chick Corea, Reggie Johnson, and Joe Chambers. What a group of people there. And this is one of the Blue Note Tone Poets, mastered by Kevin Gray at Coherent Audio. This album was originally released 1969. Features Herzog, Total Eclipse, Matrix, Same Shame, and Pompeian. Matrix was actually a Chick Corea written piece of music. And the other Tone Poet, because they always come in twos, it seems, unless they're big ones like the one last week, which was the Sonny Rollins Deluxe. Donald Byrd, and this is Bird's Eye View. Another Kevin Gray, Coherent Audio. This features, it's weird because the back is so nondescript, and it's also, this one's not a gatefold while the other one is. I don't know, this might be an older album. Let's see. Features Art Blakey, Horace Silver, Hank Mobley, Doug Watkins, and Joe Gordon. So some really big names there. Blakey, Silver, Mobley, and Donald Byrd. All right. Let's see. Oh, a non Blue Note, but still a nice reissue. This is Music on Vinyl, Thelonious Monk, and this one's called It's Monk's Time. I always love this cover because he's got the Rudy Giuliani, I call it the Giuliani sweat going right there to his face. The 60th anniversary edition, oh my, 1,500 individually numbered copies on translucent red colored vinyl. That's pretty cool. This features Monk, Charlie Rouse, Butch Warren, and Ben Riley. So 60 years. I put in 1963, 64. All right. Prime Monk era. Another Music on Vinyl piece, maybe of interest to some people. I talked about it a little bit on this channel. Saltburn. Here's the soundtrack. This is the actual, the film score, not the actual soundtrack, but it's the score by Anthony Willis. It was a great score. Limited edition on black and white marbled vinyl. Includes insert. Well, what is the insert? Is it the poster? Oh, if it's the poster, that would be kind of cool. Anyway, so you kind of get the picture of you need to see the movie, I guess, to hear what the music is like, or I guess you could probably find it on a Spotify situation or something like that somewhere. YouTube. Another sort of soundtracky thing this week, John Carpenter's Lost Themes Volume 4. And this is called Noir. The legendary director and maestro of film soundtracks returns with the fourth installment of the Lost Themes series. It has the inimitable synth work paired with big pulsating beats, heavy guitar riffs, and hauntingly exquisite piano arrangements, which bestow a more somber and sinister tone, one that fits right in a film noir. Includes exclusive clear 7-inch with Black Cathedral and screen printed B-side, limited edition tan and black marble vinyl. It's a lot of information there for John Carpenter. I mean, gosh, he's been doing this for decades. So, and not just content with doing the actual movies, wants to do all the music as well. His art. Go. This was a great movie. The soundtrack for Go, finally on vinyl again. I think it was a long time ago, maybe originally. Classic soundtrack to the 1999 film Blue Smoke pressing, limited to 750 copies. If you don't remember what was on this soundtrack or what this movie was about, it was sort of like a night in the life of all of these kids, and it followed their separate stories and how they kind of all circled around each other and came back together. It was a very entertaining movie. Well done. Featured Katie Holmes, Timothy Oliphant, Jane Krakowski. Sarah Polley was sort of the lead actress in it. Bill Fichtner, Jay Moore. Anyway, fun movie. Features No Doubt's New, Lens, Steal My Sunshine. I mean, come on. Let's see. Philip Steer featuring Steppenwolf, Magic Carpet Ride. It's got tracks by Natalie Imbruglia, Fatboy Slim, Estero, Lion Rock, Goldo, BT, Eagle Eye Cherry, Air, and Left Field. So it's very much a sort of a kind of a time capsule of the 90s electronic scene, a lot of it, and sort of pop, like how European pop sort of made its way into rave culture a little bit. So anyway, I talk about that a lot, but it was actually a very entertaining movie, I thought. Culture, 2/7's Clash. This is a 30th anniversary edition of this album. So sometimes this cover gets used for this. And yeah, Culture, if you want your reggae. Ja Pretty Face, Natty Dread taking over. Get ready to ride the lion to Zion. So pretty important reggae stuff. Sly and Robbie are on this. At least Sly Dunbar. Do I see Robbie Shakespeare? And it's just Sly Dunbar. Anyway, get it if you like the reggae. Melanie Martinez, K through 12 or K12. This album has been out numerous times. This is just a Walmart purple vinyl pressing, violet vinyl. I don't know why we get it when it says Walmart on it, but maybe that means they made too many, or they just wanted to farm it out to other stores. I don't know, but this features Wheels on the Bus, Class Fight, Nurse's Office, Strawberry Shortcake. I mean, she does sort of kind of creepy, bizarro versions of children's nursery rhyme kind of stuff. Although her last record was definitely a departure. Squirrel Nut Zippers, perennial favorites. This album was a really big seller back in the day when it came out, and I think this is finally on vinyl. I've never seen it before. Suits Are Picking Up the Bill was a single on it. Lowdown Man, Ghost of Stephen Foster, My Drag, The Kraken. Sort of like Southern big band swing kind of stuff with an alternative rock edge. Broadcast and Spell Blanket. This is Broadcast collected demos from 2006 to 2009. Trish Keenan was the lead singer of this group, who passed away tragically way too young. And so you get a lot of tracks on this double record. Broadcast have very, again, sort of 60s, but it's sort of spooky, psychedelic kind of pop, with like a very girly singer. Very interesting, influential. So, X-Ray Specs, back again, Germ-Free Adolescence. This has been reissued a few times, even recently. This is on 180 gram minty fresh color vinyl, 12-inch insert with album poster and sleeve notes, official release. I think they just basically keep making this as needed because it keeps selling out. It's a punk rock classic, so hard to keep in stock. Killing Joke, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or when this came. This is on white and black vinyl plus a bonus DVD. It's a live show from 2003. So yeah, I don't know if I mentioned this at all or not. Requiem, Total Invasion, War Dance, Blood on Your Hands. You see where this is going. The Death and Resurrection show. It does not have 80s on it. Let's see. Industrial Strength Bluegrass. This compilation is Southwestern Ohio's Musical Legacy. Newly expanded vinyl edition featuring classic bonus tracks by the Stanley Brothers, Red Allen and the Allen Brothers, Larry Sparks, and more. So you get sort of a history of Southwestern Ohio's music here too. Vince Gill is on this, Doyle Lawson, Jim Lauderdale, Sierra Hull. So a lot of like Leanne Womack, recognizable names here. Let's see. Vitamin String Quartet does the music of Paramore. Exclusive limited Violet vinyl, the compilation of the best covers of Paramore from the last 15 years. First time on vinyl. So that's a music on vinyl press, or not music on vinyl, sorry, RSD Essential. And another sort of indie type release, Czarface. And this one is called, I can't even read that. I would tell you what it's called, but I can't read it. Music from Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Venom, guess the movie somehow. Anyway, cool cover art though. Okay, and then a couple of CDs. I mean, most of these things, not most, but I'd say maybe like 50% of them are available on CD too. I'm just not bothering showing all of them. Chris Smither, his new album on CD, All About the Bones. And also they put out a Melanie live album, Cleopatra did, June 15th, 1974, Central Park, Summer's Evening with Melanie. So just looking to see what's on this. Interesting. This would have been like post the Walter Hawkins period or whatever, but these are from, I guess she did 2 shows because some of them say second show. So anyway, all right. And then I'll just end today with a quick recommend and new releases. I'll give a little heads up of what's coming down the pike next week once I can get all of my stuff together. But I'm going to go ahead this week and recommend, most of you who know me or sort of watch this channel know how I'm sort of a fan of a lot of British music, British pop, a lot of like duos that are singer-songwriters and whatever. And one of my favorite duos, and they had a great album last year out called Fuse, which was their first in 20 some years. They're a married couple. It's Everything But the Girl. And I'll recommend today their album Walking Wounded, which is an album that came out in the mid 90s. Originally, let's see, released 1996. So they had just come off of having a massive hit, and when they started out, they were very folky, and they kind of drifted into a little of loungy jazz and basically kind of things that would show off, particularly Tracy's vocal, but Ben sang as well. Ben had a life-threatening disease, and ended up having a lot of surgeries, and that was during the album Amplified Heart, which came out right before this one. He had just been let out of the hospital, and it was just a very difficult time for them, personally, emotionally, and trying to make a record. And they made Amplified Heart, and it did middling numbers, and then the song Missing got remixed and took off and became like a global number one smash, especially America. It was huge. So they're kind of like, weirdly in America, considered a one hit wonder because of that. And I suppose maybe because it was such a huge hit. But then this was the album that followed, and it was kind of like, well, now that you've gone from being a folky duo to club mavens, what are you going to do next? And Ben, in particular, became very enamored with DJing and programming beats, and he kind of had a jazz folk background, and so rhythms were very interesting to him. And he kind of was trying to give Tracy sort of the kind of like backing tracks that would frame her voice really well, because she has such a unique voice. It's very plaintive. It has kind of a sort of a woody texture to it, or sound. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a woodwind instrument, though, in some ways, to me, the way that the tone of it. And so this album was their kind of embracing of club culture fully. And so this one, the first single from it was the song Wrong, which was sort of similar to what they did with Missing, although since Missing was a remix, it did sound a little bit different. It had a little bit less of the kind of shuffly hi-hats, and it was a little more like detailed as far as like the percussion went. The song was a moderate success. It didn't really hit the charts big time or anything, but the album sold really well, and I think it pushed them over into kind of like the territory where the fans of like Portishead and Moby and stuff like that started to embrace them as well. And they did kind of stay in this genre, then making one more album, Temperamental, in like '99, and then they decided to not work together for a long time. And it wasn't until the pandemic that they kind of got pushed back together, decided, because they were at home together going, what are we going to do? Maybe we should do some stuff together. At first it was just a song or two, and then it became an actual album. So that I would recommend that album too, that came out last year. And they each had a bunch of solo work in between. Tracy had like three solo albums, and then a fourth one that was like a Christmas album. And they pretty much operated separate of each other. Ben did some solo stuff and then some DJ stuff, and I think they kind of bounced ideas off of each other, and were sort of like editors of each other in a way, but not involved in the work per se. Just sort of like saying, yeah, I like what's going on here. So anyway, or maybe they didn't. I mean, it kind of sounds like there was a little bit of involvement, but maybe, just sort of like dinner table conversation. But so this album starts with Before Today, which is a really great song, because it has like this sort of like where are we now, where are we going kind of element in the lyrics. She starts with I don't want excuses, and it sounds like a conversation, and it has this kind of low bass going on, and they were also very influenced by drum and bass culture that was going on in England at this time and then spreading through the clubs worldwide. That was followed by the song Wrong. Then the third track, Single, is a very haunting, kind of slow song, very chill. And that song, I think, is also a song that they still love because their recent Record Store Day release, they put a version of that on there too. But that was also released as a single. The Heart Remains a Child is a little more folky, a little more sort of like amplified Heart material, and then Walking Wounded, the title track, which was also a single, is very much more like drum and bass club culture. It's got a skittery beat, and her voice just sort of floats over that track. Then you flip over the record in this case, and you get Flipside as the first song, which is sort of again like kind of a more kind of a low key shuffly beat kind of song. Big Deal has this kind of like again plaintive sort of a melody and vocal, and she says big deal, that's the way we all feel, over and over, kind of like saying, you know, we all have issues. Mirror Ball is a great sort of like happier sort of retro type throwback to their sort of happy folk type stuff a little bit, and a little bit of like sort of sending up what a mirror ball is in a room in a club. And then it ends with Good Cop, Bad Cop, which is sort of a more downbeat, again, kind of, but has like a lot more sort of that darker drum and bass type or darker club culture vibe to it. So you can see where this kind of got labeled as trip hop, which is sort of like a term that got put on like Portishead, Massive Attack. Tracy, also, I need to mention, she worked with Massive Attack on Protection and sang the lead on that song and another song on that album. And so I think she was sort of open to the changes between what was going on with their solo career and having Missing be a huge remixed hit and their stuff with Massive Attack. This was sort of an inevitable change. And it's been interesting because they sort of became almost like not just sort of icons of music and club culture, but sort of fashion icons in a weird way too, with cover art like this. And so, anyway, I highly recommend Walking Wounded because if you're interested in a classic club dance album that doesn't feel like a dance album, has really great vocals and great writing, which sort of is elevated above like typical sort of genre stuff. This might be for you or something to check out, and it might open the gate to other parts of their career because, like I said, they've done quite a few styles. So, anyway, very interesting, and always love that album. So anyway, thank you so much for watching my video today. I know sometimes I ramble a little bit, but you know, it is what I do. If you don't want to watch it, just turn it off, I guess. I don't know. Thanks again so much, guys, and I'll be here next week with more new releases. Next week, there's a Kings of Leon record and a bunch of other stuff. So we're heading towards Memorial Day. I can't believe it. Already into May. 2024 is just flying by almost too fast. And so take care of yourselves. Peace. I'll see you next time. Have a great week.